and they accomplished what they did in extra games. So they broke Babe Ruth's home run record, but Babe had 154 games and they had 162. And the whole point of the movie was basically everyone wanted to belittle their accomplishment. And at the time, my point was a season's a season. That's ridiculous. It's just the record. And now I'm going, well, of course, if you play 2 more games, you're going to accomplish a lot more. So it is kind of unfair to those guys from the past.
Well, I want to say something fair. You look at it like this. We still look at that season OJ had. What he had 12 games,
Yeah.
2,000
2,000 yards.
Like that's still like an unbelievable feat. You got to look at it as in errors. If you take it in errors, that's the only way you can kind of make it make sense. The only thing the challenge now is like, oh, the greatest this, the greatest this. You have all these lists that where numbers matter in these lists, and that's what kind of can skew what you were saying. CP is like can skew it. The only thing I'll say about the 18 games is that the challenge for guy like you, who didn't matter what you was going to play in the preseason. You knew you was going to be starting week 1. Think about those other Bamas down the roster that are trying to make the team. It's tough. Like even with 3 games, it's tough for them to get a lot of reps just to see who you want to.
You mean preseason wise?
Yeah, fill in the back end of that roster. There's not a lot of reps.
I don't really think so because it was always, to me, it always bothered me for the guys that needed those opportunities in the preseason didn't get them anyway. Even when you were playing 4 games, you're going to play the starter.
But you got at least
quarter,
1 game,
then 2 quarters, then a half.
Yeah,
but
you at least got a whole game where no starters played, right? That was the
but
fourth
they
game.
were already gone by the 4th game.
Well,
I'm just saying now, cut most of the guys.
Now it's they don't have that second cut like they had that big cut. And then you trying to play with the back end of your roster and trying to figure out that 4th preseason game. That those cuts are until after that 3rd game now. So if you take away another game, it's the challenge is like think about it. Like even in camp, like you going through camp, you're getting prepared for the season. You don't practice. It's not a training camp like it used to be. Like this is. I feel like I can go out there and get about 15 snaps a game with this training camp.
Only thing I can tell you better ball out. You better come by coach. you better run by coach MF and guys all the time.
When you gonna get the
gotta kick this?
When you gonna get the reps?
Get it on special teams. Every time I line up on special teams, I'll dog somebody out of bounds. Like just so coach can see like that kid needs to be here. Only thing you gotta do is 2-3 times, and then when they come to you, like, hey, you gotta calm it down. You already know you made the team.
To your point, Cato, and the voices you're hearing in studio with us, Clinton Portis and Cato June, a couple of former NFL Pro Bowlers talking ball on Grant and Danny. I remember having a conversation with Alfred Morris, who became the 1,000-yard back here post Clinton. And he got off to a really slow start one year, and I'm trying to remember the specifics of it. But basically, he had not played in the preseason. Like he was the entrenched starter, and they basically bubble wrapped him, and then he got banged up. And he basically said it was like week 4 or week 5 before he felt like he was in what he called football shape of being hit. And I don't know exactly what he was referencing, but his point was the lack of wear and tear from the preseason, from being sat, the lack of camp that he got to experience. Like he just wasn't ready to play. And there are teams now that completely, the Rams and Sean McVay, they don't even have guys play at all. But it seems like the way you can replace the games is with these practices.
That's what I wanted to get to.
Where you have like 2 teams scrimmaging in actual practice settings. And Washington's going to do, I think, 3 of those this season.
No, those are awesome. I mean, we had the opportunity. We do. I think we did 2 last year. I think we'll do another 2 this year. The competitiveness at those practices, we didn't do them. I don't know how many you guys did when you were playing CP. But we didn't do them. Dungy didn't do them, and Gruden didn't do them. So it was a new phenomenon now that it's taken off. I think that you get great reps, like a lot of great reps, with the competitive nature of those 2 crossover practices are very beneficial, in my opinion.
For us, we did it when I was in Denver. We went to Houston for like 4 days in scrimmage the Texans, but that was kind of like the beginning of it. So once I got here, we didn't do it. But I could think of D Hall getting hurt,
yes.
In that going against D
Houston,
Hopkins,
yeah.
So led to a brawl.
When you look at it, that's what you're going to have, a lot of brawls, which I'm not sure how much of that the NFL won't, but the more you combine that, you're going to get more brawls out of it.
Yeah, how do they stop that? That is the one drawback.
Yes.
And I made this point last year because in a game, and Cato referenced his team. I should let people know you're the assistant linebackers coach with the Colts right now. You're on the staff in Indianapolis with Shane Steichen. But in a normal practice, if two Colts are fighting, you guys can grab them, kick them out, whatever. Or like in a preseason game, everyone knows they can't do that because you're getting fined, suspended. Who knows? But there's no ramifications really of if I'm just scrimmaging Washington and someone's annoying me,
They're
I'll
definitely
take my helmet off and hit him. Who cares?
no, they're definitely going to find a way to fine you. So I think the fines will ramp up. If you look at a lot of these guys, even in the preseason, to start the season, guys are getting thrown out of the game. You got to understand, you're getting suspended. That's like 2 game checks. You got the fine, and that might be like 2 game checks for guys that would have been practice squad or something, So they're going to find a way to find you when it comes to that. I think it's good because you get the competition, you get the competitiveness, you kind of keep it fresh because guys aren't so used to seeing each other every day. You get to see new faces and compete, but you have to kind of hold them guys back. You only get the 7-on-7 and a couple live drills when you're going against another team. So you don't want to risk hurting your quarterback or hurting any of your guys.
So, Cato, that's what I want to ask you about, kind of the distinction. You mentioned the back of the roster guys not having those big preseason showcases, and that's tough. Don't you guys now, as a coaching staff, don't you get just as much a look as you want at those guys in those organized kind of scrimmages or those joint practices? So there are reps that may not be those A-plus 100 out of 100 reps where you can get great eval on film, but you're seeing them up close in drills and putting them in situations like, how does this guy respond to a 3rd and 4? What, did he make all the right checks? Did he do everything that he should have in these situations that we're putting him in? Can you still get a good eval that way?
You can, but you got to think about it. Like if you have a team period, let's say team run. All right, it's going to be what 12 reps.
Mm-hmm.
All right, your starters will get how many of those reps? Let's just say you're doing racks of 4. They're going to get 8 of those reps, or 6 of the reps. Now you have another 3, sets of guys. I'm just talking about just per position. Like say for instance, linebacker room, like you're 4 deep.
So no matter how you do it, it's a shortage.
No matter how you do it, like it's not a lot of reps.
Right.
And when those practices are shorter, and like you're not doing the old school doubles like you used to, so that's gone. So it just could make it a little challenging to get a real look at a young guy who hasn't played in live football setting in the NFL. When I get it. You see him in inside run, you see him in 7-on-7, but you want to see him in a game situation when it's live because you're not taking anybody to the ground in practice. You're just not.
Are there certain positions too? I would think running backs one actually, CP, where game is kind of the only thing that tells you anything. Like, how can you really evaluate a back or certain guys in a practice setting when you're not tackling?
I would think game would be the way, just to piggyback off what Cato was saying, when you're talking about reps, I never understood a while back that if this is his bread and butter, why is he taking this rep in practice? Like if I'm running gut or zone in practice, I only want to run the new plays. Like what's our new install so I can get a feel for it to see how the O-line block it. I don't want to run gut in practice. Like, this was just me, but I would think if you're looking at if you're looking at Christian McCaffrey, for some of the stuff that he does, this is his bread and butter. If I'm thinking about LaDainian Tomlinson, I don't need to see him run power. I don't need to see Ricky Williams run a toss. This is his bread and butter. So I would rather work on the new input or the new installation instead of having those reps anyway. And I think that would give guys a chance, especially if it's your go-to run. I think that would give guys a better chance.
We're live in studio with Clinton Portis and Cato June. If you want to check the guys out, they're on video streaming with us on 106.7 The Fan's YouTube page right now here on Grant and Danny. Should be a pretty fun season coming up here in D.C. You guys have your own electric young quarterback in Indianapolis and Anthony Richardson, and we just drafted our own dual threat who can outrun everybody and has a big-time arm in Jaden Daniels. What insight can you share on just that process of getting him up to speed? And like how much with a guy with Richardson last year in Indy and even now coming off the injury, I know he's going to be ready for training camp. But my argument is they shouldn't necessarily be demanding that he NFL proofs everything. Cliff Kingsbury should be allowing him to do as much of the stuff he did at LFCU as possible. What's your thought on that? Because it seemed like that's what you guys did with Richardson. He was on pace to run for 17 touchdowns last year before he got hurt.
Well, it's you've seen throughout the history of the NFL, running quarterbacks. You just can't continue to take hits. Like it's just not. It's inevitable. You're not a running back, and you're not necessarily built for taking those type of hits, mainly to the shoulder, to the thighs, like where backs can take those hits and learn how to use the body. They're quarterbacks, so they're not running back. So I would say that, and I think the biggest transition is these guys are just as fast as you, and some of them are bigger and faster. So when the down is over, just get down and you get what you can and get down. And I think that the ones that are very dynamic, you look at the guy up the road. I mean, he's so dynamic, but he's done a better job of getting what he can and get down. They still have designed quarterback runs, and they ran for 108 on us. Well, he ran for 108 on us last year. We did get the win, but still, like he did a good job of when they had those design runs, getting what he can and getting to the ground.
Forgive me, I don't remember, and you may not at the top of your head. Did Richardson get hurt running or getting tackled or in the pocket?
It was a rollout that he got hurt.
Yeah,
It was a pass. Okay. Because that's the other thing. Like Griffin, everyone remembers his injury. Now, obviously, his was diving, but it was he was trying to do a little too much. But you got Brady where he gets the ACL torn in the pocket, flat-footed. Like there's so many different ways these guys can get hurt.
You're right, but you up that when
you're running,
take unnecessary hits.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Just any quarterback, like just there's no reason. They're already protected in the pocket. You can barely you got to sack them, roll off of them, and don't touch them. And can't break the egg on them. Like, there's so much stuff that you can't do to the quarterback. So when they get the opportunity to take a shot, they're going to take the shot. So just for the longevity of it, right? You don't need to take unnecessary hits. Get out of bounds, line up and play again.